Before we get to the full part of today's podcast, I'm recording a brief intro just because following finishing recording, there was an update regarding the Mark Williams trade that was not a trade. Shams Charania shared on X last night that the Charlotte Hornets have been in contact with the NBA as they explore options to dispute the Los Angeles Lakers' failed physical assessment of Mark Williams, sources tell ESPN. The Williams-Dalton Connect trade was next Saturday, and now Hornets weigh avenues to challenge. Now, even though that is a bombshell, we actually alluded that this could be happening in the very podcast. And we had a lot of discussion about what would happen if that was successful, what would happen if it wasn't successful. So that news does not make this podcast any less interesting or well-sourced about what's going on. What it does mean is that is exactly how we speculated. The Hornets, and I shared this with sources within the Hornets organization on the podcast, are not happy with the situation. They feel they are being treated differently to other NBA teams, that the Lakers are trying to take them for a little bit of a ride here. And this is just absolute evidence of what I shared on the podcast. Look, do I think this will work? If I had to guess, probably not. The reason being is because when it comes down to medical diagnosis, we all know in every range of life, 10 doctors can look at one scan and see things slightly differently. And I think there's probably enough gray area in medical diagnosis that the Lakers can go, that's fine. The Hornets might think he's fully healthy and it's not a concern, but we do for reasons X, Y, and Z. Some people might be saying, look, are the Hornets just trying to save face? Are they just trying to, point the arrow here at the Lakers, that they're trying to tell the league, the fans, everyone else that, hey, we've not done anything wrong here. We think the Lakers are doing some shady stuff. We think they had buyer's remorse and they tried to find a way out of it. And maybe that is just the ultimate goal here, is to try and make a point. The other thing that Lakers fans will be saying is now the Hornets are trying to cover their tracks, right? After trying to dump Mark Williams, an injured Mark Williams, onto the Lakers. And what a lot of Lakers fans are probably saying is, it should be the LA Lakers complaining to the NBA that the Hornets tried to do this trade onto them and withheld medical information or whatever it is that the Laker fans will say. What I will say is it's very interesting that it is the Hornets who are the ones making the complaint here. It is not the Lakers, okay? It is the Hornets, the ones who've initiated the league wanting to investigate this. And normally, if you are guilty, why would you start to ask the league to investigate it? And that's what the Charlotte Hornets are doing right now, which adds to my belief, and I said it on the podcast, which you're about to listen to in full, that the Hornets were trying to be a little bit swindled here. And I'm not normally one to buy into NBA conspiracy theories. Everyone who listens to me know I'm a very level-headed person. But this situation did not smell right from the start. I think the fact that Dalton Connect and Nurkic, even though they were technically available to play for both teams last night, Mark Williams and Dalton Connect technically would be available to play because the trade has been rescinded. Dalton Connect was even active for the Lakers, did not play. And that could be important right there, that Dalton Connect did not play for the Lakers, because if the LA Lakers feel there is still a chance that this trade goes through due to appeal, because the NBA will allow them to make an amendment on the draft pick compensation even after the deadline or something of that nature to allow this to go through. I don't know if you could have done that if Dalton Connect had played for the Lakers since he'd officially been traded. So watch the space. There is going to be more coming out across this in the next couple of days. This is not over. The 30 for 30 documentary on the Mark Williams trade is going to be fascinating. But sit back, enjoy mine and Sam's conversation. We talk about all aspects of whether Mark Williams would be back on the team, or if he wouldn't. What does this mean? How would they deal with the situation if he was back? There's a whole range of angles to talk about this. So sit back and enjoy listening to this week's episode. You are listening to a confused, what the hell is happening episode of Inside the Hive on the Charlotte Hornets On Our Side podcast. Sam is joining me, as he does every Monday evening, to talk all things Charlotte Hornets. Look, Sam, we last spoke on Thursday, right? We normally speak week to week, Monday to Monday. We last spoke on Thursday, and in those handful of days since then, the Hornets got the win of the year over Victor Wembanyama and San Antonio Spurs with a Miles Bridges game winner. The Mark Williams trade got rescinded. They signed Alfred Payton to a 10-day contract. LaMelo Ball and Nick Smith Jr. are back on the injury report. LaMelo Ball got snubbed from the All-Star game again, and there was a freak out 48 hours about the Nurkic trade if it was going to go through as well. So not much to talk about today, really, Sam. We're gonna be kind of having to really find topics to dive into today. But look, we could have jumped on earlier, but we were kind of waiting to try and have some more clarity on this Mark Williams situation, and that's going to dominate the show. Because it's pretty unique in NBA history of what's happened. As I always do, Sam, tell me, where were you when you saw the news? What was your immediate reaction? How did you find out?
I saw it popped up on my phone. I read that tweet so many times. So many times I thought I didn't know what the word rescinded meant. Like, surely I know what this word means, but it can't mean that, right? It can't. And then it did, and it does. And it sucks. It really sucks. Even the broadcast team, the night the first that San Antonio game after the deadline, Eric Collins said, this team was looking better for the good, or changed up for the good, all the stuff. Like, all of this energy just kind of popped right then and there Saturday night. And so we still don't have a proper resolution on it, right? And like our explanation about what happened here.
Wow.
And I don't know if we'll ever get one.
I know. It's so bizarre. Obviously, it hadn't gone through like in the immediate days afterwards, but with Cam Reddish not being in Charlotte due to personal reasons, which Charles Lee had shared, I thought that was the holdup. Like, I thought it was a little funny, but nothing had ever crossed my mind that like maybe Mark Williams hasn't failed the medical, especially when you heard about during the press conference of Rob Pelinka when they were talking about the trade after the post-trade deadline. I believe he said on the record to the media, "We fully vetted his health stuff, led by Dr. Chris Jones at UCLA Health and Dr. Leroy Sims on our team, and he's had no surgeries. So these are just parts of it. He's still growing into his body. We vetted the injuries. He's had none, and we're not concerned about those." We vetted the injuries he's had, and we're not concerned about those. Not that he's not had none. He said that the day of the trade deadline. Mm-hmm. And then 48 hours later, they fail Mark Williams on a failed medical, which apparently is not to do with his back, but there were multiple other things. Now, he's only, I believe, had 2 other injuries. There was a torn thumb ligaments, one, which ended his rookie year, and there was this left foot sprain, which he suffered in preseason, which we thought might be a few weeks, ended up being months. And he's also been missing games here and there, some back-to-back, some not, for left foot injury management over the course of the season. I can't believe a thumb surgery, which was on his left hand from 3 years ago, is the thing here. So it surely has to be something to do with that left foot sprain. And the other theory that I have is maybe there is just something else, Sam, that we don't even know about yet, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes you can find stress fractures. Sometimes you can find these kind of injuries that they don't hurt or they don't show up really loudly, but when you dive into them, there is something there. And maybe that's something else. Is like, it's something the Hornets maybe didn't even know about, right? And it's only when he got under the microscope, literally, of the scientists in LA that they started to find something. So that's something that we've not heard yet, but it's one of the seemingly reasonable explanations that I have.
And if that's the case, isn't that kind of alarming? Like, why is the Lakers medical staff finding things that the Hornets medical staff isn't? So this whole, like, there's layers to this. And unless there's like an Eddie Curry type situation where it's not having to do with like a basketball thing, but like a real life health concern, like, I don't know if we'll ever find out about what happened here. Because if the Lakers can have a case to say that the Hornets traded Mark Williams in bad faith, that's something that I could wrap my head around. But if the Lakers just did more homework than the Hornets did, that is something that is inexcusable from the Hornets' point of view. So I'm just so eager to find out like a real timeline of this And even to the Hornets side, like they put out a statement saying the Lakers contacted us about Mark Williams.
They didn't call them the Lakers. The other team.
The
Sam.
other team.
The other team contacted us.
True. You're not correct. That is what the Hornets organization said. And them over there. And then a report. I saw stuff on Twitter that that's not the case. So I don't know what to believe in any of this, and I don't know if we'll ever find out, man. But what I do know, it is super annoying and frustrating as a Hornets fan.
Yeah, this is a worst case scenario for the Charlotte Hornets. I mean,
what do you do?
The trade value in the player is now completely shot in Mark Williams. So it's not just like, oh, let's just retrade him in the summer. Okay, if you do, it's going to be less than what you got before, and you're going to feel pretty frustrated probably with whatever return you have. And no team is going to give you a good package because they're going to look at that and go, oh, there's health concerns. Why would we trade, a proper package, which reflects his value on the court when there's health concerns? You then have Mark Williams going, well, the Hornets don't even particularly want me here, right? They traded me. How does that make me feel? You then got freaking Yusuf Nurkic, who thought he was coming in to be this team's starting center. We're 99% sure he is going to be on the team, even though there's some queries about that, which we'll maybe get into later. But you then going to have Diabate, Nurkic, and Mark Williams on the team, which from a depth perspective is great. But I'm pretty sure fans will probably want to see Moussa Diabate, maybe the most of those two names, and he might be third on the depth chart right now. It's just a really difficult situation for all parties. There are absolutely no winners apart from the other 28 teams in the league. That's what I think I wrote in my first tweet. Is it's a disaster, and it could be damaging. I think we will find out what happened because, and this is my theory, whoever is not at fault is going to want to blame the other team. Right? If the Lakers feel that Jeff Peterson and the Hornets, withheld certain medical info or didn't effectively communicate the level of severity, the Lakers are going to leak that to the press. If the Hornets feel that the Lakers are looking for a way out of this trade because they had second thoughts, cold feet, and they're using this medical grounds to do that, then I think that's going to come out. I will say this. I don't know anything about the details. I know that people in the Hornets organization are very frustrated right now with the situation. And I get the sense from speaking to the people I'm connected to, they feel like they're being treated poorly right here. And they're feeling hard done by. They're feeling like they're the rough end of the stick. Okay. And I don't know exactly, people aren't telling me why, but people are feeling like the Hornets are being treated poorly in this situation. And whether that's reality, I don't know, but that's how clearly I know that some people within the team are feeling right now.
And it'd be understandable because it does feel like the Lakers are just flexing and bullying the Hornets on this. Because if they say, and they said, nothing current, everything in the past is fine, but we're worried about something in the future. Well, at what stage and to what end, right? If this trade didn't happen, he would continue on as a Hornet with maybe issues, maybe not. Oh, sorry, I thought it froze for a second. I find it just so problematic because he was an active player, and if you can just say, "Hey, we're worried about something that might happen, so we're pulling out the trade," that's a really shitty precedent to set. Because anybody can just say, "Hey, we're worried about something, so we're done. We're out." Whether it's something there, because at that point it's opinion based, and there's no third party involved.
Well, and ESPN's Bobby Marks, who's their front office insider, he put out a tweet earlier today saying he's heard from multiple teams with the below questions: should it be solely up to the team and their medical staff to decide if a player fails a physical? What is the criteria for failing if the player is playing and healthy? Should there be a third party involved to mediate a situation like this? Despite the deadline passing, should teams be allowed to amend a trade if there's a concern? So this first 2 points are really kind of making that exact point there, is could teams use a failed medical, look at something and go, we read on the reports that, there was this injury. We've looked at the scan and we think it's worse than your doctor is, right? Like, we all know the world of medicine and scans and diagnosis, it is not black and white a lot of the time. There is a degree of interpretation. And I'm pretty sure any medical expert could make up a reason to look at something glass half empty or glass half full. And it's something that, like, in court or through like a system, no one's going to be able to like question it, because it's just a matter of expertise interpretation. And I'm normally the guy to be like, hey, don't buy into the conspiracy theories. Like, this is just the Lakers found something which was worse than what they thought it was going to be, and they're within their right to stop it. But the more time goes on here, Sam, I really do think that they are bending the rules which are in place around failing Mark Williams on medical grounds. Like you say, I don't think they can, unless we hear that they found out there is a stress reaction in his, right foot, which has never had an injury to the Hornets or to our knowledge, and they found that's a different story. But if it's just like, we weren't quite happy with those injuries, something really does smell off, Sam. And I'm not one normally to fan the flames of conspiracy. People know this. I'm very level-headed. But even those questions Bobby Marks shared, it suggests that teams are looking at this almost like the Lakers are pulling something here.
Yeah. Yeah. If this feels like this is going to end up being the Mark Williams rule, and that in the future, these things are going to have to be standardized. Yep. And I don't know, maybe the deadline has changed, where instead of it's fully over, maybe you get a window. You sit down at a table, you have whether it's the commissioner or Mark Tatum or whatever, give Mark Tatum something to do. You can sit at a table and you can flesh this thing out and get to a reasonable outcome. Because neither team, that was Thursday, it's Monday now, neither team has the players. So a trade happened, and both teams have been without. Now, I know Cam listed as a personal reasons. Dalton, I think, had some issues. So maybe he was banged up. But Mark Williams was an active participant in an NBA game right before the deadline. And the Hornets hadn't had him in 2 games, right? And so it's just like, what's going on here? How is this not resolved in a timely manner if this is all on the up and up?
Yeah, I agree. It is just one of the most unique situations. And I mean, I tried to look back like other situations similar to this. The most recent one was Dontes Montejunas, who was traded to the Pistons, I believe, for a first-round pick. He failed the medical because of a back issue and ended up returning back to Houston. Now, that's obviously an easier situation because you don't have like players involved both ways, right? He thought he was going to the Pistons. He didn't. He went back to Houston. Dalton Knecht was in Hornets gear, sitting behind the bench, and he might be a Laker. On Montejunas, by the way, still playing now at 34 years old for Monaco. Had a really good career, mostly overseas. Played again in the NBA as well after that. So it was by no means like, I see some people now talking like Mark Williams is done, right? His career's over. Like the Hornets can't ever play him ever again. I don't think that's the case. All the Lakers are saying here is that we made a trade for Mark Williams, assuming this level of health, and we think he's going to have X level of health. So what they're saying maybe is like, if we could take off the 2030 swap rights, we might still complete the deal. But because the trade deadline is now passed, that flexibility is gone, which is pretty frustrating, because you'd have to think the two sides would have been able to find like a resolution if they'd been able to have that flexibility, because neither side wanted to have the situation of Mark Williams coming back, Knecht and Reddish going back to LA. Like the Lakers could have made, other trades as well. No one wants this to happen. It is awkward for both teams involved.
Yeah, because the 2031 pick's unprotected, right? So maybe, medical doesn't go quite as planned, and that becomes a lottery protected pick or something like that. Yeah, there's plenty of opportunity to tweak a deal instead of fully canceling it, but that's the nature of it all. For the Hornets, like, they have Mark Williams this season and next season, and then it's contract time. And that, for me, was one of the main reasons why I was so excited about the trade, that they were selling high. They were getting out of the Mark Williams business. I hope he like at that. I was hoping he would have great success in Los Angeles, but up to this point, it seemed like an opportunity to reset the timeline on that position. Now that's out the window. He's gonna come back. What do you do the rest of the season? And then what do you do next summer? Like, do you shut him down? Like, what do you because they just gave Diabate. That's another thing. Who's on this roster? Because I'm confused because they converted Diabate like the night of the trade, from it looks like, or the day after the trade, given that celebration video before it got canceled.
Yeah.
And so the roster is pretty fat right now. And with Alfred Payton, like all this stuff, there's so many awkward pieces to all of this. And it's super frustrating. But with the rest of the season here, like, do you just run it with Mark like nothing happened?
Well, look, I don't think because, like I said before, because he failed the Lakers medical does not mean that the Lakers felt he would not be in a position to play this year. I think some people are assuming that's what it means, that if you can't fail a medical, you can't play in an NBA game. That's not true. They're saying that they could be saying that they see something that down the line could become an issue, even if it's not right now. So he could play.
But just from like a people management point of view, do you play
Yeah, I understand. And you've also got Nurkic coming in, right? And we talked about this.
Is that happening?
We talked about this twice now, where it's like Nurkic kind of like, if he was backing up Mark Williams, didn't make sense, but now Mark Williams is gone, he can come in and play the starting role. That makes sense. Well, now, according to the Hornets PR statement that's come out, the starting center for the Charlotte Hornets, Mark Williams, is coming back. And so the way I think would be best to handle this for all parties would be you say to Mark Williams, look, we're going to shut you down. We're going to focus on you just getting healthy. Whatever the issue is, we just work on that between now and next summer to try and get you up to 100% rather than you trying to play through any more left foot soreness, whatever it is. You play Nurkic as the starter for the rest of the season. You let him play, hopefully make some trade value for himself, maybe even in the summer. Then in the summer, maybe you just move Mark Williams again for less, right? It can be, you could even, depending how bad the blood is between the Lakers and the Hornets, maybe you even call the Lakers back up and go, look, Luka wanted a lob target. You wanted Mark Williams. Like, our hands were tied. We couldn't make any changes to the trade because of the trade deadline. Let's have a discussion. Dalton Connect. We want Dalton Connect here. Mark Williams, Dalton Connect, and like you say, lottery protected first. Let's do it again, but for a different deal. Maybe they just go back to that in the summer, unless bridges have been burned with this whole situation. But I think we'll get a sense of that in the coming weeks from the leaks and the reports.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I think you shut them down, and even from like I don't know how that would work with the CBA. If the players union would have issue with that, I don't know. But I'd be pushing.
Well, if you fail the medical, the players union can't have an issue with the team for not like. Yeah.
But to your point, it's like the medical was a future thing, and so because he was playing. that's what I mean. And then he was an active participant in the NBA before he got traded. He failed the physical. That's so crazy. That's so nuts. That is if he was out like Cody Martin has been.
Yep.
Valid. Right? I wouldn't think twice about it. I'd have zero conspiracy thoughts about it. But he just played 25 minutes, like the day before.
But he did miss 2 games in like the week or 2 before that with the left foot. And one of them was a back-to-back, which kind of felt like, oh, that's normal. Like, the Hornets are resting quite a lot of their injured guys on the second nights of back-to-backs. But then he also missed the next game as well, which was like, oh, that's concerning. He missed 2 games in a row, where one of them was after a day's rest for left foot injury management. So that to me suggests that foot is still an issue. It's not, and that has to be one of the issues that is being like the whole sprain in the first place. It was a sprain that then ended up being months. Like that didn't make sense in the first place. I think this has to be the root of the issue.
Yeah, I rewatched his media day press conference, and it was just as rough as I remember it. First off, but the fact like everybody, the 100% confidence in the back, everyone. Every opportunity he had to say it, back was fine. And then the dodging around the foot injury the whole time.
A minor issue, he called it, right?
And then fast forward to now, I was like, oh, well, that minor thing made him miss 20 games. So what's going on with it? So it did then, and it still does smell fishy. And to your point, that may be the factor into all of this. But if they can find, okay, if someone trades for him and he passes their physical, by nature, does that make you wonder if their standards are like lesser or less involved or less thorough than Lakers one?
Yeah, there's a bigger microscope on the LA Lakers to go, were you searching for something? Were you trying to find something to fail this medical, right? And like I say, this world of medical profession, there is enough gray area that if you want to find something, you can.
Mm-hmm.
Like if we all did a body MRI scan and we said to the doctor, find something that could look cancerous, I bet any doctor could probably be like, well, that looks like it could be something over there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let's do a biopsy. Like, it's just the way it works. There's so many things that are going on. I mean, that's how I would go about it. But then in some ways, if he comes back and he plays the rest of this year and he plays well, then does that help boost his trade value in the summer? Because the other teams being like, well, even if he did fail the medical, I think other teams could be like, maybe the Lakers botched the medical on purpose or did something, and like he looked fine, healthy, and didn't miss any more games for the rest of the season. So by resting him, in some ways, it's like an admittance of guilt, right? If sitting him out. So this is what I mean. There is no winning this situation. Like they are and they're never going to probably now be able to re-achieve what they did with this trade. Any other outcome is probably going to be subpar.
Oh, 100%.
Unless he just stays on the team. Him getting an extension, not going to happen. Right? If they can't trade him because of injuries, there is no way any front office in Charlotte is going to give Mark Williams an extension. They will wait till that next season, and then they will probably look to sign him after that because you'll have the most up-to-date medical knowledge, and you'll also have a season to prove his health. So the extensions, like, rule that out.
Yeah.
Like, even if he does remain in Charlotte and he does kick on here and do well, which, like, hey, that would be a hell of a comeback story if he does, okay, from this moment, from this low moment, if he could come back. But that would be the way to do it, is that he would end up being a restricted free agent the year after next season. And maybe at that point, if he's been able to stay on the floor better, he's been able to improve defensively, then the team would look to keep him long term. But he's got now a season and a third that he needs to prove that if the team want him to.
If he's a participating Charlotte Hornet after the All-Star break, the first game is at Lakers. Are you shitting me? Like, what?
National TV game. Let's get it on.
It was because it's because of the wildfires, and it was a postponed and rescheduled game. But like the narrative about all of this, if Mark Williams is an active participant of the Charlotte Hornets at that stage and has an opportunity to play against the Lakers, and he doesn't go crazy, I'm gonna look at him forever differently as a competitor. Like, if there's ever a game to get up for, to show people what you're capable of doing, it is that game. He had a locker there, bro. Like, they had a locker for him at the crypto whatever center.
Especially when you're going up against Jackson Hayes. I think he'd like that matchup too.
I want that alone, and then I would shut him down after that one. But I want to see what he's up to and what he has in the tank.
That is going to be a must-watch game. I mean, honestly, like,
I'm staying up for it. It's a 10 p.m. game, East Coast. I'm here for it.
It's just, that's going to be crazy. Another like underrated storyline of this whole thing, right, is the Hornets vice president of health and performance, Trent Salo. Earlier this season, he was overseeing all the Hornets medical stuff, moved to consultant position, moved back home because of a family issue back in Michigan. Okay. The Hornets chose not to re-recruit anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And that they were, which kind of makes sense mid-season in some ways, like trying to get someone to move mid-season would be difficult. But I just also wonder if like that feeds into this as well, right? Like, is it just a coincidence that the head of your health and performance program left the organization And does that mean that somewhere some reports are not up to date, some information has not been sent? The person who would normally be in charge of sending the medical stuff over to the Lakers is being done by someone who that's not normally their job, and they haven't done it before, and they missed out some level of detail or information. I don't know, but it's like certainly something. If I was investigating this and I was the league, certainly be something I'd look into. Right?
Absolutely.
It's not unreasonable to point to that and go, could there be something there? Could there be some type of mistake thing? Yeah, it's I mean, Jeff Peters, people saying obviously like, did Jeff Peterson try? There's two conspiracy theories, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a conspiracy theory that the Lakers had buyer's remorse and they're trying to find a way to cancel the deal. There's a conspiracy theory that Jeff Peterson withheld certain information and tried to dump him in a trade at the deadline. So, the team wouldn't have any chance to kind of like back out the trade. And he basically tried to force them into that position. Depending which team you support, probably depend which side of that conspiracy theory you fall onto. I'd be pretty shocked for the Jeff Peterson side. And by the way, if it was Jeff Peterson did that, in some ways, I'd be like, it's fucking brave. Like, that's like pretty brave to go out and try and like dump someone on the Lakers with an injury history without telling them. Like, why not try it?
You can only play that card once, right? So might as well let's see if you get away with it.
Yeah. But I don't buy that this, I'm saying that in jest, really. I don't buy that this is some Jeff Peterson conspiracy and it's going to damage his reputation amongst other 28 teams around the league. I don't think. I mean, we have to find out more. But I'd be surprised if this is going to be some kind of damning front office, issue that they've tried to get sneaky with here.
Yeah. I'm so eager because Peterson hasn't had a media availability about this.
No, neither trade. And I wonder why.
But like in the past, I felt like they would do it the night of the deadline.
They would normally have a Zoom media availability. Normally, like the evening of the trade on draft night and stuff like that. They had it the evening of the trade.
Yeah, all Hornets social was sending out positive messages. Thank you, Mark. All the stuff. They made a nice little video for him. But there's no signs of any of this going south. And during that period, I would have I thought I missed that, like some type of announcement or press conference or media availability with them. And no, there's nothing. And that's weird too. So I think that is a weird point in the conspiracy column, because why the change when everything was meant to be normal and above board? Especially considering, I think those moves, both of them were largely well received. Like, it wasn't neither were super controversial. It wasn't like the Dallas thing where it was an opportunity for Jeff Peterson to like, pump his chest and be like, look what I did at my first deadline, and set this team up for a brighter future. And it didn't happen. And so it makes me wonder, did they have were they tipped off that the Lakers thing wasn't going right or going well? I don't know. It all just seems so weird, and it ended up being the weirdest outcome possible.
We should probably mention this this video going around, Hornets Twitter, of this Chinese medical expert talking about the Mark Williams medical. This is speculation at the moment. We're yet to figure out actually who this person is and why they're talking about the Mark Williams medical. But there is someone out there who seems to be talking about the situation in quite a detailed way. Essentially, to kind of quickly go over it, it's mostly about speculation around some cartilage issue, but at this point, we don't have any confirmation of who this person is, whether it's reliable or not. So we're not going to go into too much, but I guess more might come out by the time this is out, that there is actually something there. But I just thought we'd mention it.
Yeah, the mystery continues. I can't wait. I can't wait for Jeff Peterson to talk about this. He's pretty good in these scenarios. Like, in front of the media, he's pretty good. And I'm curious to see how he handles all this.
There's going to be some difficult questions because like this is a very, very difficult situation for a very young first-time president of basketball operations. Just why does it always happen to the Hornets, Sam? What Kenny Atkinson pulling out, right? Like just always more complicated than it should be. The Charlotte Hornets really are truly cursed. They finally make a trade, that the first trade in a long time that all of the national media have like complimented the Charlotte Hornets are making. It's so forward thinking. They've done well. They sold high. Really like what this front office is doing. Just when you feel there's like positive momentum to getting somewhere, it just gets like reeled back in because of this cluster mess of a situation. And it's just exhausting, right? The hits just keep on coming. You just never have a time to like enjoy NBA basketball following the Charlotte Hornets. Constant drama, and not the good kind.
Not at all, man. Like the deadline was awesome. The next night, the win against the Spurs was awesome. Like we got like 2 solid days of good shit, and then the next night, nah. Just kidding. It's crazy. It's nuts. But at least Diabate got his contract. That's good. I'm happy for him.
Can we finish the Mark Williams discussion on a slight positive note?
Yeah, let's do it.
2009, Tyson Chandler. He was on the New Orleans Pelicans, and he was traded to Oklahoma City Thunder to join the Durant, Harden, Westbrook core. Failed his medical because of a toe issue. All right? Mm-hmm. Ended up getting traded to the one and only Charlotte Bobcats. You might remember that trade. Was here for a year. Was pretty ineffective for his year. Came off the bench a lot. Actually did suffer with a toe issue for most of that year in Charlotte. They traded him for pennies on the dollar in the summer. They just wanted it. He didn't want to be here. They wanted him gone. Sent him to Dallas. I think it was for Eric Dampier's contract, which had like some weird non-guaranteed clause that meant it was like an expiring, meant MJ could save some money. Matt Carroll, maybe Eddie Nahara and Eric Dampier, I think might have been part of the trade. He then went on to win the championship with the Dallas Mavericks with Dirk Nowitzki, won Defensive Player of the Year, and played in the NBA for another decade up until his mid to late 30s. And he failed the trade on a medical red flag. So as much as everyone will be, claiming that Mark Williams is injury prone, probably for like the rest of his career. That is just going to stick with him now. And I know he doesn't like it because he said in preseason media availability that he was like, I'm not injury prone. I know he doesn't like it. That's what's going to follow you everywhere you go. It doesn't mean he can't have success. And the reason we were all excited about what Williams has shown before the trade, they're all still there, as are some of the issues around defense, which I think got a little bit like some of the effort stuff, especially the defensive effort stuff, I think got overblown around the trade. So there is a good outcome here. He can follow the Tyson Chandler path. And that would be a really good situation. And obviously in that case, Tyson Chandler did get retraded, right? Literally 6 months later. So it could be that situation again.
Yeah, I mean, I want this to work out for Mark because it can't feel good. He's pretty helpless in all of this. Like, he did nothing wrong, right? All he did was get traded, and something happened to the extent we don't even really know.
Why can't he just lie? Like, Mark, does it hurt when I push here? No, it's fine.
Oh man, it's super uncomfortable. I know some Hornets fans are happy to have him back, and if you are, that's fair. Like, the Hornets could use him, right, to close this thing out. But I did a poll on one of my streams, and 55% of people said no, they're not happy he's back. And I'm right there with you. It's weird as hell. I wish the Hornets had a great opportunity at a clean break, no pun intended, and now they got to figure out what to do now.
You see, I'm kind of torn. Like, if he'd been back on the team because, I don't know, the Hornets had sent the paperwork in late after the deadline, right? For that reason, utter incompetence, I would have said. But I would have been like, but like, we get Mark Williams back. The problem is now we got him back and we know he's damaged goods.
He's a ticking time bomb now. Like, it's floating over everyone's head. Yeah.
Now, at least in some way, now we know as fans, right? Like, we know the situation. If this hadn't happened, no one else out here would have gone, you know what? Mark Williams' career might be threatened by, injuries. And like, when it comes to extension talks, we should really think about like how long he's going to be able to play basketball in his career. Whereas now everyone knows that. So at least we now know where we are in the situation, and we don't have the ignorance. Like, ignorance is bliss, and there's a reason that is a term.
Yeah. Because the Hornets must know what his representation wants for him in 2 summers. Like, they have to know, at least a general ballpark, what that number is. And I'm so curious what that ends up being, whether it's here or somewhere else.
Well, I don't think it matters anymore. I don't see any team extending him when you don't have to.
Yeah, no, I mean just in 2 summers when the time comes.
In 2 summers, okay, I get you. Yeah, I mean, it will be down to his health. Yeah. It will be down to his health. I mean, I even thought, part of me even thought like maybe they just like play him 12, 15 minutes per night the rest of this year and like focus on him getting healthy and have him come off the bench behind Nurkic. Like, and that way, if there is like a stress related injury or something, like when he plays a lot, it flares up, that would help mitigate and manage that. But that's another difficult situation.
Yeah, only
the truth is there is no easy way forward here. I could see them playing him every night. I could see them sitting him the rest of the year. It also depends what he wants to do as well.
Yes. I was looking at the schedules briefly. I just did a quick sim. It looks like there's like 4 back-to-backs the remainder of the year. So maybe that's where you just find those opportunities to sit him on those second nights or first nights, or just to ease up on him. Like the idea that the Hornets have like a fragile center now, like that sucks. Like you gotta go about this like he can break down at any point. That's what this feels like. Like the Lakers told the Hornets that they have a lemon on their hands. That's what this feels like. That at any point the car can break down. That is crazy.
Yeah. But again, that's one doctor's interpretation of the truth.
True.
And the Hornets might look at that and just like completely disagree and say, we disagree with that diagnosis. We have to get some more answers. And look, we were hoping by the time we recorded this, we would have them. Because this news broke now, 3-4 days ago. And there's been a lot of silence on both sides, which has made it really weird, right? And the Nurkic trade was still pending for days. And well, why has that taken so long to get confirmed? Are the NBA, are the Hornets appealing one? Like, I was thinking, what if by not making the Mark trade, if in some way that had like, if they were an apron team or something, what if that had made them unable to complete the Nurkic trade?
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Like from a CBA perspective. Now they still can, so it's not a problem. But if that was the case, what then happens? So do they both end up getting nixed? I mean, I reached out to a few people today and they told me no trades or transactions are linked together. They're all independent. But in this scenario, it's not a problem. But the whole silence around this whole thing, it's just leading to conspiracy and speculation. And I don't understand why the Hornets and the Lakers are letting that happen unless there is scurrying behind the scenes, behind the front offices, that there are still discussions, negotiations with the league, appeals. I don't know. I think they'll be keeping it all quiet because they don't want it to become its own little soap drama. But I think that stuff could be happening behind the scenes and we're just not hearing about it because that's the only thing. Or they're all just really freaking hungover from the Super Bowl and they just didn't want to work this weekend.
So, going back to Nurkic, how in the hell is Cody Martin passing a physical and Mark Williams isn't?
Because they traded for Cody Martin knowing that he has a sports hernia. And when they've looked at the scans and looked at the reports, they said, yes, you have a sports hernia. We made the trade knowing that was what you had. It's something that it's not that they found that he had a sports hernia and they thought he was fully healthy. And that's what must have happened to Mark.
Yeah.
They thought they were trading for Mark Williams. His injury record is X, Y, and Z. All of a sudden, they found something on there which they didn't think was going to be on there.
It's uncomfortable as hell, man. This whole thing is so awkward. It's so awkward.
Right, let's move on. I'm so. Oh, I've been building up to this conversation for like 3 or 4 days, and I'm exhausted by it. I'm exhausted by this franchise, man. I'm exhausted by the lineup the Hornets put out against the Pistons last night. Had 5 G League players who played in the G League this year, and 39-year-old Taj Gibson. That was 6 of the 9 players who played. The other one was Daquan Jeffries, who wasn't even going to be in the NBA until the Knicks did the Karl Towns trade and had to re-sign him. So realistically, last night, out of the 9 players that played, you could argue 7 of them aren't really NBA players.
Yep.
Like legit NBA players. And they still were within 2 in the fourth quarter. It was just this whole thing, man. It's been year after year of stuff like this happening. It's just exhausting. I'm exhausted, Sam.
And it doesn't. The idea of it can't get any worse. It can. It always has. It does. It finds a way to get worse.
Yeah.
Every time. I don't know how they find new avenues to break new ground and make things worse. It's nuts. It doesn't make sense.
All right, let's move on. I would say it's better news, but it's maybe not, depending on your view on things. LaMelo Ball has been snubbed from the All-Star game again by Adam Silver. Giannis Antetokounmpo had a calf issue, was set to miss the All-Star game. There was hope that the number 1 fan vote getter would have a route into the NBA All-Star game. But it was confirmed today that Trae Young has been selected instead of Giannis Antetokounmpo. Interestingly, Chris Haynes, who shared the report, said that Adam Silver selected Trae Young because he was the next place player in the coaches vote who select the reserves. And that is how Adam Silver picks his all-stars. So if you choose to believe that, then that is, it wasn't really Adam Silver's choice, that he just defaults to whatever the coach ranking is in all-star vote, which, I do believe that. I made that sound like I was being skeptical. I do believe that is probably what he does. Although I will say I've never heard that before, and I wasn't aware of that until this time. And I will be checking that is the case going forward to make sure that there is a consistent track record for Mr. Silver.
Well, have they named a Anthony Davis replacement yet?
Not yet.
Because that we'll see if he follows the same path for that. Because I assume it would be in the Western Conference front court player. Which
yes,
it
doesn't have to be front court. It could just be any player.
It could be anybody.
Yeah, you're not tied to positions here, which is one of the reasons why I thought LaMelo might have a shot. Especially with Jello playing at halftime.
Yeah.
By the way, if LaMelo Ball were to come out at halftime with Jello, and LaMelo Ball was an all-star, I would tell you right now, that social media engagement clip would get more than anything else that happens at NBA All-Star Weekend. LaMelo All-Star, Jello performing together at halftime of the All-Star game. That's gonna break the NBA's internet. And they chose not to do it. Adam Silver, a man of integrity, right? That was an easy win for engagement and reach. Yep. And instead he picked Trae Young.
It's a shame. Because it would have been really fun. It would have been really fun. You got Alonzo out there too, just chilling. It could have been a lot of fun. Shame.
Are you disappointed that LaMelo didn't make it a second time? Through the injury replacement route again?
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah. As a Hornets fan, I'd prefer he made it, but I understand why he's not an all-star or why he didn't make the team. Like whether it was the player vote or the starters or the reserves or this time around. It's the game. The Hornets ain't winning. They're not going to get the love and respect from the coaches. I'm not shocked by it, but it is. I prefer it if he was, because the game is better with him in it. I have no interest in it, but he makes it better.
Yeah, the reason that part of me wanted it was for the fans.
Yeah,
because as we just discussed, Hornets fans have had it pretty rough, and just a little bit of good news right now would go a long way.
Mm-hmm.
I actually am glad, like, if that wasn't the case, I would have not wanted, I wanted him to not to make it. As the injury replacement, let me make it clear.
Again.
Because for two reasons. One, I just couldn't cope with the media calling LaMelo Ball a fake 2-time All-Star for the next year or however long it is, which, by the way, absolutely everyone would make that joke. Like, every time they talk about LaMelo Ball, they do that sarcastic, oh, don't forget about 2-time injury replacement All-Star LaMelo Ball. So, like, at least we don't have to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, we understand there are reasons. Some of them are the team performance reasons, and some of them are also some of LaMelo Ball's tendencies in some of the games, right? Of where he needs to make improvements and he needs to get better. And like, I want him to channel this frustration. I think he shared something on Instagram earlier today. You know, one of those kind of clever, subtle, indirect jabs at the NBA. With a bunch of angry emoji faces and something about the NBA. People more online might know more than me about this, but essentially it's his way of saying, like, I feel I got screwed and I'm not happy. Good. That's how you should feel. And I hope he can take that and channel that in a positive way. So look, I would have liked, you know, LaMelo to make it for the fans. Like, it would have been nice for him from an injury point of view, but it will feel that much sweeter when he does make it and like makes it on his own terms, not getting in because fans voted for him or because of an injury, right? Getting in because he's one of the best players.
Yep. You got to win over the media and the coaches, right? Those are tough audiences. Very tough audiences to please.
Yeah. And I'd like to think, like I said, there has been progress in the last. He's been in and out because of the injuries, but since the kind of second half of January onwards, there's definitely been progress on what we've seen. But the problem is the early season play, where he was throwing up a load of shots and playing a little bit wild. That is what sticks in people's mind. Whatever happens in the first like 2, 3, 4 weeks of the season always resonates a lot stronger than what happens for like 4 weeks in February, because there's just other stuff going on. So LaMelo was really good at the start of the year, and the Hornets are winning at that time. So I don't quite know why it's gone in that way, but it has. But a shame. Like I say, this franchise needed some positive news. It's just hit after hit after hit, and I'm a little bit worried what's next. Musa Diabate eye abrasion. That's
oh my
great.
God, man! Like, I thought it was over. I was when he hit the deck, I was like, oh no, like, he shouldn't have signed that contract. It's like, oh, be careful what you wish for type thing. He 3 years. Welcome to a full-time life as a full-time Charlotte Hornet. You're at risk at all times, and anybody can get it. I was so happy he stood up, and that was only an eye abrasion, because I thought the worst when he went down.
Yeah. No, it's good to see him questionable in the injury report. Hopefully he can play tonight against the Nets. Sam, is there anything else? Look, it's been a hard episode. It's been tough.
I don't know, like, you listening to this, I'm sure you'll find out. You'll know, you're in the future if you're listening to this. You know who's playing tonight. We don't. Is Nurkic playing tonight? Do you know? Have we heard anything about it?
Well, the trade is not pending anymore. It's gone through. And he's not on the injury report.
Yeah.
So, ergo, he is available and will be playing. But no one connected with the Hornets organization has said Nurkic will play tonight. And I don't know why. Like, I don't, like, with all the question and uncertainty lingering around, I don't understand why no one has done that. But they haven't. But I think he will play tonight. Like, the news has got out that he's going to be playing because I think people have assumed, and no one's come out and then pushed back against it. No one said, oh, no, folks, hold on. Nurkic still isn't playing tonight. People have let that kind of like snowball roll down the hill. So I presume he's going to play. And we're probably going to find out because we're recording it well, it's about to be 5 p.m. Eastern in literally 1 minute here, which is when the Hornets injury report should come out. Or we should get the pre-game press conferences, should start in around now or in about 15 minutes. So Charles Lee will be answering questions on it shortly, but you will know ahead of us. We'll get back to basketball stuff next week. We'll get back to Hornets basketball.
We have only this got tonight and then Orlando, right? There's 2 Hornets games before the All-Star break. Tonight and Wednesday. And then we'll see what kind of madness happens after that. Anything can happen after that.
We might even take a break next week as well, with it being the All-Star break and there being zero rooting interest for the Charlotte Hornets, as far as we know right now. LaMelo's not in the 3-point contest either. Were you surprised at that? That he didn't make a 3-point contest?
Yeah, that he should be in that. Did they ask him? I don't know how that works. If the NBA contacts guys and asks them if they want to be in it, or the players nominate themselves. I don't know how that's structured.
Yeah, I have to think they'd have asked him.
Yeah.
Because of the number of second or third most 3-pointers made per game in the NBA at the moment. Why wouldn't you want LaMelo Ball part of the weekend? And if he did turn them down, I kind of get it.
I'd respect the hell out of him if he said, "No, you can keep that."
I'll do it when I'm an All-Star, which is kind of the culture that a lot of NBA players seem to have now, and I don't mind it either. So, but I would have thought they would have asked. Yes, we might be on next week. We might be not. We might kind of have to see how the news plays out here and the next couple of games go. It's been we've done 2 episodes last week. Just need a little bit of a break. So I'm glad All-Star break is coming up here. But we'll be back soon, breaking down whoever is on the court for the rest of the season here. And thanks for sticking with us through this little bit of Hornets therapy. Feels like Hornets therapy sessions are needed way too often, but that is the way it goes. But Sam, thanks for jumping on, and I will speak to you soon.
Peace.